So my op-ed is called, and this is what I want to talk to you about, the reason for the mass shootings is not toxic masculinity. It is the lack of masculinity. Yes, it is. Whenever there's another tragic shooting, you know and I know that we hear the same thing, scapegoat, over and over again, masculinity. Take just a look at some of these headlines. Now, I can't stand these people, but take a look at these. These are actual headlines. The recent mass shootings in the US all have one thing in common, misogyny, by famous feminist Jessica Valenti. And you guys all know how much I hate her. I mentioned her in my book several times because I cannot stand this woman. But that's a real headline. There's another headline. Men are responsible for mass shootings. How Toxic Masculinity is Killing Us by Jennifer Wright. All of them blame men and what they claim is toxic masculinity. In Jessica Valenti's article, she even says, the longer we ignore the toxic masculinity that underlies so many of these crimes, the more violence we're enabling. She also adds, even in the mass shootings, where the stated motive isn't disdain for women, there's often a history of domestic or sexual violence from the killer. And we're going to circle back to that later about the domestic violence. But the blanket solution is always to just simply take guns away or soften men up even more than they are now and deconstruct their masculinity, like a virus that needs to be purged, right? But the blame is grossly misplaced. The truth is, toxic masculinity is merely an outcome. It's a symptom. And therein lies the problem. We need to take a step back further to look at the real root of the problem. Again, misogyny and domestic violence, they're all symptoms of the problem. But what is the root of the problem that is actually causing these outcomes or symptoms? And what I believe it is it's the lack of maleness, the lack of healthy male development and fathers. So first we need to start off with the premise that males and females are different. Despite what the leftists insist, we have different brains, different tendencies, and we're motivated by different things in life. So men and women are different. And one of the ways that we are different is that men instinctually crave respect more than women. It's not that women don't crave respect, but men crave respect first and foremost. Respect and appreciation. Women crave love and relationships just a little bit more than men do. And, when men go for a long period of time without feeling needed and without feeling respected and appreciated, and when they feel that they're not contributing to the world and achieving or helping, then they become deprived, kind of like they're sleep deprived. And am I right or am I right? I don't want to speak for you men, but I do know from experience that this is true. What do you guys think? Yes, no? Do you feel like men need respect, that men need appreciation, they want to contribute to the world, and when they're not getting it, they start feeling antsy, deprived, empty, that kind of thing. Now, when they are not getting it for a long period of time, they can go to destructive means. Now, let me go a little bit further. The world needs real men, not Bruce Genders. Yes, exactly true. So, what has changed, though? We've always had guns. We've always had our Second Amendment over the years in America, but we hardly have any mass shootings until the last decade. Given that fact, isn't it logical to see what things have changed the most in the last decade? And the things that have been the biggest cause for change has been broken families and fatherless homes, and rising feminism, female empowerment, and male disempowerment. Okay, those are the two huge social changes that have occurred. Prior to the 1960s, more than 73% of all children were living in a family with two parents. Now, less than half are, 46%. 1 out of every 3 kids grow up without a present father. So let's state another important fact, ladies and gentlemen. Broken families create fatherless homes. 90% of broken families are headed by the mother. The mother gets sole custody in about 90% of the cases. So during the 1960s to the 2016 period, the percentage of children only living with their mother nearly tripled from 8 to 23%. 90% of single parents' homes are raised with mothers. And right now, actually as of 2017, which was the last time this was taken, 18 million children at least do not live with a father figure. That's 18 million children on the loose in America without a father. And that's a huge portion of the demographic here in America. And to add to that, 84% of all school teachers are female. So right out the gate, boys are seriously lacking in male role models and fathers right now. Another fact, it's been proven that fathers help children make wiser decisions and provide boys structure, discipline, healthy masculinity, confidence, and life purpose, among other necessary skills. Fathers parent in a way that's unique for mothers. And a mother could just never replicate a father. She is no substitute for a father, even though she might do a fine job of raising children on her own. So, as such, there is a proven direct causation between fatherlessness and most of societal's ills today. Boys who grow up without a regularly engaged father, pay attention, and again, all of you who have read my book know this, and anyone who's in the men's rights movement or has been engaged in that conversation knows this. But boys who grow up without a regularly engaged father have mental or tend to have mental and behavioral problems. Children raised by single mothers are more likely to be on ADHD medications and more likely to be on treatment for emotional and behavioral problems. 85% of children who show behavioral and mental disorders come from fatherless homes. Low self-esteem, confidence issues. Men are more likely to have low self-esteem and confidence issues when they come from a fatherless home. They're more likely to be prescribed psychiatric drugs and also addicted to drugs. 75% of children in chemical dependency programs are from single-parent families. Are we starting to see the pattern here? Does this sound familiar? Nearly every mass shooter was hyped up on psychiatric drugs. Let me go further. 71% of all high school dropouts come from fatherless homes. 85% of youths in prisons come from fatherless homes. 85%. 80% of rapists with anger problems come from fatherless homes. 63% of youth suicides are from fatherless homes. 90% of runaways and homeless are from fatherless homes. Children who come from single-parent home are 50% more likely to grow up in official poverty. And they're more likely to have confused gender identity. And lastly, more guys that come from fatherless homes have relationship issues with women, which then often leads to anger towards women, often incels, okay? So is all of this starting to be a pattern? This isn't rocket science, guys. All of the culprits that the shooters share, behavioral and mental problems, psychiatric drugs, anger problems, domestic violence tendencies, low self-esteem, antisocial behavior, and relationship problems with women. They're all stemmed from a boy not growing up with a healthy present father figure and healthy male role models. There is a lack of healthy male identity, a disassociation from who they really are as a man. They're obviously not confident in their role as a man, and they're not getting their needs met in life, in their world. Look at the Black family, for instance, as a case study. 74% of children in Black families are raised without fathers. Let me just check back in the chats real quick. I live in Dayton. Okay. I'm a woman, but only men can teach men how to be a man. Yes, LZ, you are right. Yes, exactly. RealSexism.com. So let's go back to this. This is just not rocket science, guys. Come on. We used to have a culture, this is a fact too, we used to have a culture that encouraged healthy masculinity and appreciated men. We had a culture that thought that masculinity was sexy. John Wayne was sexy. We unanimously respected and understood the importance of the father and men. We celebrated men as our protectors, our providers, our heroes, and boys define themselves and their sense of purpose as men by preparing for war, preparing to be the protector and provider to wife and family. Now, the media has become an insidious accomplice in undermining men and fathers. They predominantly portray men as bumbling, stupid, lazy fools, or the violent, toxic villain or rapist. The left has been constantly pushing us to defy gender roles and parading around boys wearing dresses and wearing lipstick and guy liner. Our culture has been elevating and empowering women while disempowering boys and undermining men, elbowing men out of society. What are we expecting, right? Let's go on. Men can't do anything right anymore. Anything they do has a malicious intent and crime attached to it. Chivalry has been labeled misogyny. If they try to explain something to a woman, they're accused of mansplaining. If they compliment a woman, they're being sexist. If they just sit the way most normal guys with male appendages sit, they're manspreading. Men are being castrated of their natural masculine instincts, like leadership, confidence, protectiveness, aggression, ambition, risk-taking. These qualities have been perverted as toxic by promoting this concept of toxic masculinity that is so egregious. The message that boys and men get on a daily basis is that these behaviors are no longer welcome, they're not wanted, they're not needed, and they're downright disgusting.